we got the idea for Embark because we realized how many military spouse entrepreneurs are out there. So Milspo Project really started as our signature business conference, Embark, and grew from there.
Welcome to Drop and Give Me 20, where you learn keys to entrepreneurial success as Lindsey Germono interviews business owners with military backgrounds on what works and what doesn't. Pay attention. It's time to drop and give me 20.
Welcome to the Drop and Give Me 20 podcast. This is the podcast for military entrepreneurs. We will be discussing obstacles, challenges, wins, successes of very successful entrepreneurs that are in the military capacity, whether they are active duty, veteran, military spouses. Today, I'm so excited because I have one of probably the most important people in my life as the person I'm going to interview. Elizabeth Boardman with the Milspo Project was introduced to me, about a year ago. And ever since I met Elizabeth, I've just been very impressed with her work with the Milspo Project. So good morning, Elizabeth. Now that I gave you that really high introduction.
I know. Good morning, Lindsey. I'm so touched. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So again, this is the Drop and Give Me 20 podcast. So what we're going to do is just dive right in because we don't want to be a boring podcast by any means. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization?
Yeah, my name is Elizabeth Boardman, and I am the co-founder and executive director of the Milspo Project. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit that helps military spouses start and grow businesses. So we have a few programs that we utilize through our organization, and one is our chapter meetups, which focus on peer accountability and goal setting. We have monthly workshops that happen online. We also have workbooks that are geared towards our book nerds in the group that go with our book club. And we also do an annual event every year called Embark.
And I've been to Embark, and I love Embark. It was the best, one of the best conferences. I wouldn't say it's a conference. It's like a big party with a bunch of your military spouse entrepreneur friends, and all you do is talk about business, and it's amazing. When did you guys start the Milspo Project?
Yeah, so we started the Milspo Project in 2014, and I was thinking about starting my own business at the time. I was frustrated, like many military spouses get, I'm sure, with jumping from job to job. And we happened to PCS quite a bit because of my husband's training. So I think I was on like job 6 after college, and I kept getting entry-level positions and getting promotions pretty quickly within actually the first 6 months, almost always. But then was still too new to the company where I couldn't stay on and work for some of these bigger companies. So I was just fed up by the time we reached Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is where Fort Bragg is. And I said, I'm going to start my own business. And fortunately, I was meeting with a wonderful group of women that met on Monday nights, and we drank wine and we talked about military life. And they all happened to be in most of them were in the wedding industry, and actually almost all of them own their own business. So it was just inspirational to talk with them and see how they had kind of turned their circumstances into something beautiful. So we got the idea for Embark because we realized how many military spouse entrepreneurs are out there. So Milspo Project really started as our signature business conference, Embark, and grew from there after our first conference.
2014, it's now June 2016 that we're recording this, and by the time listeners get to hear this, it'll be maybe another month or two down the line. But tell me about your growth. How far along have you come in those 2 years?
Yeah, the growth has been very humbling and just so wonderful to be a part of, and grateful, I guess. I'm grateful. We have grown massively in the first, really, we've had our chapter program for a little over a year. It started at January after the first Embark. So we had it around for about a year, and we grew our chapters to about 25, 26 by the end of 2015, and we're already at 38 chapters.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so are the chapters run by volunteers as well?
So the chapters are run by volunteers. If you are interested in starting a chapter in your area, you reach out to us through our website. And chapter leaders are military spouse entrepreneurs themselves, and they facilitate the meetups once a month.
I think I'm a member of like 6 different chapters because I love the Milspo Project, and we can talk about that for hours. But I'd love to get into, and I don't know this, just for listeners, just so they know, Elizabeth has not shared with me her challenge before our interview. So this is going to be a surprise to me. And that was on purpose because, when you're interviewing somebody, you didn't want to come across too scripted or anything like that. And Elizabeth is just lovely. And so Elizabeth, why don't you share with us what was one of the obstacles or challenges that, your organization or maybe you personally experienced with this whole new role of an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, there are so many, especially in
I know. Where do you start?
But I wanted to talk about a personal one because I think so much stuff emanates from us, like as individuals, and it trickles down into our businesses and organizations. So I wanted to talk about self-doubt, which is something I have really struggled with. Despite our massive growth, you would think like, oh my gosh, you've had all this amazing growth and this support, and a lot of people are getting behind you and encouraging you. But deep down, I have had like serious self-doubt as far as, what is the Milspo Project? It's growing so fast. What does the future of the Milspo Project look like? Self-doubt in my ability to lead. Especially since we grew so fast, I kind of fell into this role that a lot of people work, their whole lives to land an awesome executive director role. And like I said, I'm so humbled by it, but our growth was so fast. So self-doubt is definitely mine.
Do you think, I know you said that you're obviously around a lot of other entrepreneurs. Do you think that's something that other entrepreneurs experience as well?
Yeah, I think definitely. Like, I even think back to when I was starting my first business and, I'd be driving to an event and unsure about prices or, like if people actually want, this product. So I think definitely people struggle with it, especially if you're in a creative space. It can be really difficult.
I guess then it gets into like if you're talking about pricing, I know I've personally changed my pricing drastically. But there's a I guess a phase where, you're kind of testing things out. And of course people say that there's reason to believe if you come out with a high price or something like that, then, it has a certain result in how people portray that service or whatnot. But you're a military spouse entrepreneur nonprofit organization. So there's not a whole lot of room for pricing strategies. For self-doubt, I'm sure everybody who's listening who's an entrepreneur has felt something along the lines of that in the course of their startup or even as they're going on. What are you doing now to work on that?
Yeah, I am trying to surround myself with people who really fill up my love cup, I like to call it. So friends like you, family members. I think that there are a handful of people in your life that are really special and, know what you need to hear in the right moment. And I just was fed up, not that I was surrounded by toxic people or anything, but I think as entrepreneurs, we have such a small window of time we get to spend with our loved ones because we're always busy creating and doing new projects. So I think the people you choose to bring in your life should be really special and they should make you laugh and you should have a good time with them because having fun is just as important as the work we do in our life and knowing how to cut loose and have a good time and doing it with the people you love. So
look, there's nothing wrong with that. I think as an entrepreneur, if you don't take the time to you need more than anything to let that time to let your hair down, and to just cut loose and get out of your head so that you can relax. So, I think those that are listening and people will ask me like, gosh, you work so hard. And I'm like, oh, I also play hard too. When I can get the chance to let my hair down, I do that. So, you said something a second ago that struck me as the word toxic, so toxic people. Do you see toxic people in the friendship capacity, or would you say that that also includes like those in your networking or professional capacity too?
Yeah, I think not so much in my friendship world anymore. Like definitely when I was younger and in college, I had people in my life that were toxic, but I didn't know it at the time because I was so young and still kind of trying to figure out who I was. And I don't necessarily think I let toxic people in anymore, but there are people in your network that will try and take advantage of your time for their own benefit. You know, Milspo Project gets pitched all the time because, you know, we have a large base of women and men who are military spouses, and people want access to that network. So often I have to, you know, respond to emails, phone calls, and people try and get me to sit down for coffee, but we all have finite resource and it's time. And so you have to really guard time as well as your downtime. So
okay, awesome.
I don't know if I answered that, but
yeah,
kind of roundabout, I guess.
Well, you brought up another issue too that entrepreneurs have, and that's your time. It looks a lot different than those who may not own a business. So that's probably a good topic for another interview later down the line. Is when you're an entrepreneur, your week, your day, you know, your time looks completely different than someone who's not an entrepreneur, because you're invested in your own company and, you know, you want to see it grow. So, which you should. I mean, I firmly believe that if you're not losing sleep over it, it's not something you should be doing. But the self-doubt is something that, you know, we talk about military spouse entrepreneurship. Now, there are challenges entrepreneurs face overall, but the military spouse entrepreneurship, is there anything that you want to share with people who might be listening that, you know, want to start their own business, but they're a military spouse and they're, you know, not sure, maybe they're not, I don't know, as confident in that?
Yeah, definitely. I think military spouses are very special. And actually, if you follow Milspo Project on Instagram, you'll see often we post about how military spouses are magical, because they really are. And I think innately military spouses have this capacity to juggle many things and be good at many things just because we have to be. We're emotionally resilient. Oftentimes military spouses are a single parent. They definitely keep care of the household while their spouse is gone or deployed. So I think all of these traits naturally translate to entrepreneurship and owning your own business. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes us special. And I think, you know, there's nothing really special about the Milspo Project. We just recognize that there were a lot of military spouses who own their own businesses out there. But military spouses have been doing this for a long time because the unemployment and underemployment epidemic for military spouses is very sad. So people have been doing this long before the Milspo Project was around, getting creative about how they could make money, even when they were stationed like in Oconus places like Japan and Korea. So I think
do you have chapters over there?
We do. We are soon to launch actually a chapter in Japan, which should be launched by the time this podcast comes out. And also we have a chapter in Korea. We have a chapter in England. We have a chapter in Anchorage, which is considered Oconus. So we're spreading our tentacles far.
All right. So I want to have if you could share something with the people that are listening based on your personal experience with self-doubt and toxicity, what would that be? And remember, these folks that are listening are entrepreneurs like you. So, and maybe even if you could have met yourself 2 years ago, what would you have shared with yourself?
Yeah, there's one quote in particular that comes to mind. It's actually a really long quote and I don't know it by heart, but it's by Marianne Williamson. And she says, when we let our light shine inside of us, it gives other people the permission to do the same. And when I came across that quote, I almost cried, because I think for a long time I was struggling with like I said, self-doubt and where I fit into the whole picture. And maybe a little bit of not even knowing myself, because I think self-doubt kind of comes with lack of confidence in your skills. And I think just letting your light shine and doing it unapologetically is like one of the most beautiful things you can bring forth into the world, because then other people look around and they feel that authenticity and they say like, I want to be like that. And it's like,
the people who are listening to this, I want to say to them, like, why would you not want to be around this? Like, if you can just hear Elizabeth now, and she's like this in real life too. I've met her. So this is, this is not just like for show, for the interview, but why wouldn't you want to be around an organization that the head honcho is telling people to let your light shine? Like that's amazing to me. And I'll look up that Williamson quote so that I can get like I want to make sure that I share that with our listeners too. But I mean, that's an amazing way to look at it too. And I also think that helps. Maybe I'm just taking this for, 10 steps down the road. I actually think that helps with some of that toxicity, because if you're letting your light shine, it's automatically just going to shun out, those people those haters, those people that might, that might just be a weight in your life because you're on it, and you're around people that are on it. So the people that aren't supporting you are gonna, they're gonna see that and they're just gonna fall to the wayside. So I love that let your light shine mentality, because it does a number of things for your self-doubt or your toxicity and, your personal growth and obviously your business growth.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you. That was kind of you. That's it.
So, as we're wrapping up and everybody who's listening, I want to give them a chance to connect with you. So the Milspo Project, Elizabeth Boardman, tell us, social media handles, and if we needed to find you, where could we find you?
Yeah, definitely. So if you would like to learn more about the Milspo Project, you can go to www.milspoproject.org. You spell that MILSPO project.org. And then our social media handles are at Milspo Project. So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram that way. And if you ever have any questions, everyone is more than welcome to email me. My email is Elizabeth with a Z at milspoproject.org.
Easy enough. Milspo Project for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or you can just go to the website, which is milspoproject.org. Elizabeth, it has been really great talking with you. And for those that are listening, the Drop and Give Me 20 podcast is all about, sharing insights and challenges and obstacles to help you feel more confident in growing your business. Elizabeth obviously brings a huge strength because she's seen a need in the military spouse community, and she's gone and taken control of that and is writing an area that, a lot of us can understand and empathize with. So Elizabeth, I want to stop and thank you for everything that you've done. You're a force. So 38 chapters in 2 years, all of those volunteers, you're not paying those people to do it. That's like, it's beautiful. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I highly encourage everybody to connect with Elizabeth. She's a lot of great ideas. She's extremely creative, and that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to share all of my winnings that I've gotten from you.
Well, thanks for having me today, and the pleasure has truly been all mine. So.
You're welcome. All right. Well, we will hear from you soon. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And for those that are listening, you can definitely connect with Elizabeth. Please do subscribe to the iTunes channel, Drop and Give Me 20, and subscribe, review, and like all of our stuff on social media. So thank you, Elizabeth. I hope that you have a great day.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye. Thanks for listening to Drop and Give Me 20, brought to you by Germono Advertising Company in Norfolk, Virginia. Please visit our podcast in iTunes, click on subscribe, and leave us a review. Your support goes a long way. When you subscribe and leave reviews, it helps the guests on our show as well. Jump in and let us know what you think. You can also follow all of our guests on the Drop and Give Me 20 Facebook page. We have Instagram and Twitter. Those handles are Give Me 20 Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Germono, and I appreciate you listening to the show.